That's my prediction. See if it comes true. The top right, he is Mao's HeRoMaRinE. Bottom left, we have Liquid Kelazhur. Mao's recently making a tweet chain of players in the longest team player agreement. HeRoMaRinE being on Mao's was one of the longest runs for a team. I think someone in Dota was higher up or something like that. I forget. And then they had made a grave mistake. They forgot Mana on Team Liquid. Mana used to be on Mouse a very long time ago, which makes it kind of funny. But they were on Mouse maybe in 2010, 2011. Team Liquid and Mana joined forces at least before 2012, I want to say. I'm not actually sure, but it's been a long time. HeRoMaRinE is up there, man. In all of esports. Him and Mouse together. Honestly, when HeRoMaRinE wasn't the top player that he is, and this was, well, at this point it was a long time ago that HeRoMaRinE wasn't just one of the top players in Europe, if not the world. Let's say maybe 6 years ago? 2016? Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah. Yeah, for about 4 years, maybe 5 years, HeRoMaRinE was good, you know, great to a certain, you know, comparison. What are you comparing it to? But definitely not the powerhouse that we know him now. A guy who made top 4 Katowice last year, guy who gets top 4 reliably enough, I suppose, in the regionals, and who wins most of these open cups. There was a time where HeRoMaRinE was considered very much so just another okay European player, especially because there were so many more Korean players still dominating back then. But times have certainly changed. The only thing that has not changed is that HeRoMaRinE's still a mouse. They, I would not be at all surprised. I'm not saying this is actually the case, but I would not be surprised if I heard that Mouse kind of forgot that he was on their team for a while. And then when they got interested again, someone actually looked through their player roster and they're like, oh, we're still in StarCraft? And they were like, yeah, boss, do you want us to contact him and tell him to get lost? And he's like, no, that's cool, I guess. Seriously, they just, he's like been the only StarCraft 2 representative on the Mouse for, I guess, a decade, something like that. And again, at one point, he wasn't even the big deal that HeRoMaRinE is now. But certainly, patience has paid off, I suppose. HeRoMaRinE gets, I think, a lot of fame, I guess is the right word. A lot of attention, at the very least. A lot of attention. Kelazhur actually joining Team Liquid as we watch One Racks expand versus Factory expand, by the way. Kelazhur joining Team Liquid was kind of a weird process, because at first he joined as kind of like a, not a content creator, but like basically as part of their actual organization, like an employee, a paid intern, I believe, because Europe actually pays their interns. And then when he finished university, that's why he went to the Netherlands in the first place, he decided he wanted to go back into pro gaming, and kind of, I guess, along his graduation, the Team Liquid was like, oh, I just actually pick you up as a player. And he said, yes, please, thank you. So it's been kind of a funny road, both these players. And now we have the battle actually commencing. Kelazhur going for a Medivac Hellion Marine drop. HeRoMaRinE going for just a bunch of Hellions. They are going to see each other. I actually don't think they did. I don't think they did. Could have been a little bit better about looking at their vision at the right exact moments, but I don't think they found each other. So that's awkward. Both players gonna lose some SCVs and a lot of lost mining time, but one player hits the main, the other player hits the natural. But, okay, bigger problem. One player has maybe more defensive units. Okay, I have no idea how this is gonna go. HeRoMaRinE doesn't have a lot to work with, man. He's got 2 Marines and an SCV pool. Some units are about to pop. Raven can throw it on an auto turret. Kelazhur had a Cyclone waiting, actually, but against so much firepower, it's not a lot of heavy-hitting units, Hellions and a couple of Reapers, but it is a lot of units. It looks like it died. No, it didn't actually. It got repaired up. Okay, so yeah, that was funny. You know, all things considered, I actually thought that looked like it was going to go way worse for HeRoMaRinE. It is basically a wash. HeRoMaRinE technically lost 2 more SCVs, but maybe more consistent production of them. Remains even an SCV ahead. Half an SCV ahead, I guess. And both of them have enough good units, is the way I'll put that one. You know, like they kept their Ravens alive. 2 Cyclones versus 1, not gonna matter the longer the game goes, but we'll see what happens before we're at the more like mid-game, right? Maybe 2 Cyclones will make a big deal. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of forgot that HeRoMaRinE pseudo-retired from Pro Gaming. Pseudo-retired again, like part-time intentions, and then got to top 4 out of ET, and was like, well, maybe no. Alright, yeah, it's a fun TvT, but now as we watch the push, the more typical push come across the map, it does seem evident that HeRoMaRinE is ahead. He's now up 6 workers. His 3rd command center is about 80% done. He's killed a couple more SCVs thanks to auto turret harassment, which does mean he doesn't have the Raven back at home, but it is still 1 Raven to 1. HeRoMaRinE late to actually party. Wasn't paying attention, didn't get any of those auto turrets down. That is a huge deal, actually. A couple auto turrets would have saved many of those SCVs' lives. As it is, HeRoMaRinE is going to hold. We're losing 17 SCVs. That is a bummer. That hurts. And he's not, well, Kelazhur is not going to be able to save anything. Trades out to the last. Banshee gets interrupted on its process to the natural, so that was a waste there for Kelazhur. Jesus, this is interesting TvT. 9 worker deficit for the Blue Terran, but their 3rd command center is done and turning into an orbital. So, having already invested 150 minerals in that, triple mule, that kind of doesn't make up for a 9 worker deficit entirely, but it will help. And not only that, but the other thing I was going to mention before we had Kelazhur Blitz was that HeRoMaRinE is also much faster to a stim. So, I don't know, bias perhaps, based on previous TvTs witnessed, but as well as just knowing how good HeRoMaRinE is, giving him the favoritism going into this match. I think HeRoMaRinE is still in the better position. I really do. Stim's finished. 3rd's command center has been pumping away, trying to bridge the SCV gap. He also was able to invest into faster barracks production. So that came from one of the earlier spikes that he was able to grab. I mean, actually, even with his SCV losses, Kelazhur has not spiked in his favor as much. That's actually quite surprising. I would have expected a much bigger spike at the very least. But HeRoMaRine's still kind of winning overall in the income department. Only slightly losing out in the last minute or 2. But yeah, so he's already returned an investment. He's already got his barracks up and running. His upgrades actually moving along. And even his army supply is looking better than Kelazhur's too. Now Kelazhur, with the bit of spike that he has in the economy, has now accelerated, right? He got his 3rd and 4th barracks, but I think he also got his 5th and 6th. There it is right there. So he's trying to, I mean, he will eventually, not that he's trying to, but he will eventually even surpass HeRoMaRine's production. But eventually is not right here, right now, and HeRoMaRine's already doing his push. 8's army supply lead actually isn't all that much. Kelazhur, actually in a bit of trouble here. So he's able to snipe one of HeRoMaRine's Ravens before all of his Vikings went down, but now his Raven is in trouble. His production is in trouble, honestly. The Vikings landing could be terrifying. Kelazhur predicted, I think, something incorrect, basically. I don't know. I think he was predicting the Vikings would land, which, you know, was an honest threat. It was honestly a threat. It might have seemed like a very odd use of the Vikings, but it was a true threat to his production. So he unsieged his tanks, but then he saw that HeRoMaRinE was going to punch him in the 3rd base and said, okay, no, I need to protect my 3rd base. So he tried to reposition his tanks, get them sieged up, but as late as it was just completely ineffective. So the Viking run-by threat was one of the biggest reasons that Kelazhur has been broken here. If it was more of a toe-to-toe, face-to-face kind of engagement, I mean, Kelazhur still has trouble dealing with the Viking lead, but yeah, it's now too far gone. Kelazhur losing workers, once again falling behind in the extra command center. The only thing he has going for him is the extra 2 Marines at a time. They're not even on reactors, so it's literally just 2 extra Marines at a time. He's later to upgrades, 1-1. It's going to finish for HeRoMaRinE. Kelazhur is only 30% in. Quite an interesting TvT, but HeRoMaRinE still comes out ahead almost every time you look back, every time you think it's going to look a little bit worse for the guy. Every time some of those numbers don't look so great for the guy. There are other things to consider that still puts HeRoMaRinE in the lead. And HeRoMaRinE has not lost it, has not done anything foolish with it. Has played a very smart TvT as we would expect from him. Kelazhur is certainly a more dangerous, kind of erratic player in general anyways. Type of person who can punch up on occasion for sure, where HeRoMaRinE is more the type to kind of steadily level up, right? And for sometimes that for Kelazhur that results in really amazing runs, really amazing games, like his GSL versus the World versus TY. No one expected him to win that one, right? And then other times it can either look really foolish, you know, doom drop into 5 missile turrets type kind of foolish, happens to the best of us. But also, not foolish, just down a level. Sometimes is what it looks like. You know, Kelazhur does make these risky decisions that seem to actually hit with some type of force, but then you look at the actual numbers, the actual situation, and HeRoMaRinE still ends up playing better. Must be awfully frustrating for Kelazhur. Well, I also think he's a momentum-based player, and whenever that opening happens the way that it does, he's really hoping that he can capitalize on that momentum, but perhaps just the matchup kind of working against that particular play style. It's fairly easy, even, I feel like, for TvT to put a complete stopper in momentum. Properly positioned Vikings, okay, I guess my doom drop heading into the main doesn't work out. Properly positioned tanks, okay, I could try and concave, but it's going to take me a little while. Okay, now I'm ready to go. Shit, now you're prepared. In the top right of Waterfall, we have HeRoMaRinE. Bottom left, it is Kelazhur. HeRoMaRinE, again, coming out ahead despite taking a few more losses. Can be also chalked up to the command center timing, which I kind of forgot about, honestly. Once things got heated, I kind of forgot how the openers went, because so often the openers are factory expand and factory expand. HeRoMaRinE actually went a little bit greedy, went for 1 racks expand, so prior to the drop, he might have already had a 2-3 SCV lead, and that would have made up for the 2 extra SCVs he lost in comparison. So that makes sense. The data, the stats, the numbers, that makes sense. What still didn't make, like, total sense, like this, I feel like you could show that same position to very good players, and they would think HeRoMaRinE would take even more damage, was, yeah, how the actual engagement went. That HeRoMaRinE didn't lose more like 20 SCVs. With his main base under attack, his production so limited and delayed, and Kelazhur actually being pseudo-prepared. The natural versus main was a really big deal. And while Kelazhur couldn't bring his SCVs to the main to totally protect them, it still is less SCVs to kill. But HeRoMaRinE's pull on his main SCVs was much faster because he had that maybe bit of heads up thanks to the supply depot that was out here, right? It makes sense when you really look at it, but again, pause the game as the medevac flies in and the Hellenians try and get in the natural, and I think you would have predicted HeRoMaRinE to take many more losses. He just didn't. He played that really calm, cool, collected, smart. And Kelazhur almost being more of like the berserk Terran, trying to get a fury of punches. Fury of punches. Say that 10 times fast. Just didn't actually get that momentum. Didn't actually knock the guy off his balance. And now Kelazhur is once again attempting to do that. Knock the guy for a loop. 2 racks opener that HeRoMaRinE did not scout. Yes, if he scouted, but then left without a thorough scout. Even left before seeing what the second geyser had in store. Could be in trouble because of it. Gabe following a recipe while Kelazhur freestyling. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So Kelazhur is going to have 3 Reapers to 2 Reapers and a Hellion. That doesn't win Kelazhur this fight, unless his micro is much better than HeRoMaRinE's. But it does start off with a delayed command center. The 4th and 5th Reaper now have more potential. And that goes along with the fact that HeRoMaRinE, you know, he did go for a tech lab. He didn't go for a second Hellion. So his production is limited or almost non-existent at the time that Kelazhur hits his peak power. HeRoMaRinE goes for maybe a slightly different build, and there's other things to talk about, right? But as it is, he did not have enough to defend that. Kelazhur runs in, guns down a couple of units, takes down 2 SCVs, once again building the command center, and could be kind of happy with this opener because he did delay the command center. He did get an SCV lead. And his Reapers are still alive, so they could backstab later on. As the tank is positioned, yeah, I'd get a shot on most of the Reapers if they jump up, but I don't think it would kill all of them. This is a very risky thing that HeRoMaRinE's doing, man. Yeah, Cyclone and a couple Marines are going to pop out, but that is... well... I would say it's only dangerous because it is Kelazhur. Kelazhur is the type of player who would continually use 5 Reapers, go mano-a-mano with a Cyclone, even while dealing with a drop. But HeRoMaRinE, he played this correctly. Kelazhur just pulled back. Now he gets to team everything up together. No fear of backstab. Focus entirely on his little push, which is little now. It's not going to be little very soon. Like, the number of units here is not that impressive, but the actual unit type of Kelazhur is also not that impressive. Auto turret's gonna be the best thing in Kelazhur's arsenal. A little bit of a concave with the Reapers trying to help out, and a little bit of an SCV pull is going to be the right mixture to bake this particular cake, maybe? Yeah. He's gonna be fine. 7 SCVs lost in the process, though, means that HeRoMaRinE is now ahead by 5, both of them with orbitals on the way, or done, rather, sorry. And more Ravens on the way for both teams. First Raven for HeRoMaRinE, actually. He's not actually done being aggressive. That's a little surprising. Kelazhur was lacking extremely useful units in that moment besides the auto turret. Should be close to getting useful units now. So HeRoMaRinE is certainly playing on a short timer. I don't think he can actually stay around here for too much longer, even though it is a short map, and you'd love to be able to just stick in this position and kind of snowball before the defending Terran really realizes what's happening. I don't think HeRoMaRinE's actually capable of doing that. But he is out to prove me wrong, man. He is looking to gain even more advantages, but getting a little bit greedy, maybe. That Cyclone lock on the medevac was absolutely perfect, exactly what Kelazhur was looking for. Now he is going to finally counterattack, something that he was kind of stalled out beforehand, because apparently HeRoMaRinE wasn't done. And now HeRoMaRinE might regret not being done. Had he pulled back, he would have had a lot more to work with. 2 Ravens to 1. Kelazhur, oh no, 2 Ravens to 2. HeRoMaRinE's second one just popped out, but Kelazhur looking for perfect use of his Ravens. Not gonna try and bust the front. Goes to the main base, goes for the auto turrets. Tank at least be saved. Yeah. And the SCVs can be pulled away, so the auto turret's not as devastating as they could have been. 2 SCVs, lost mining time. Not the worst. Actually, I think it would be much scarier if he had lost a second tank. Okay, that is Kelazhur's Reaper. Here we go. And now Kelazhur is going to pull back, realizing he's not going to get much more. As far as an actual push goes, he's just going to try and be clever with his Raven Cyclone combination. Can't be clever for too much longer. Vikings are on the way. And that's where the Cyclone, again, is so perfect. Covers the Raven's retreats, but not if it's blasted by a tank that's sieged up, so I gotta be careful. Both of them coming out 7 minutes of the same supply, but HeRoMaRinE up 4 workers. Kelazhur a little bit up in the army supply, also stim done, combat shields about to finish. Certainly one of the benefits of having 2 barracks right off the bat. It just doesn't have a ton of units to work with it quite yet. Marine count isn't super high to really take advantage of that stim and combat shields. Still mostly that small number of units, but very important units battle that TvT is for the first, 9-10 minutes, really. Well, maybe not that long. It also does depend on the openers, of course, but it's still so much about the tanks, Vikings, and Ravens. Properly positioned, they will tackle even a significant Marine difference, even with combat shields involved, so they can try and stim on top of those tanks. So that's what it's about, right? And this is, again, where Kelazhur struggles against someone as rock solid as HeRoMaRinE. The place that Kelazhur finds himself, more mobility, more pounce potential, arguably just like better risks to take with the style of play that he's chosen, can't actually dig under the armor. HeRoMaRinE keeps deflecting every single sword attack he's got. In the case in point, 2 medevacs hoping to disturb HeRoMaRiNE's main base, easily countered by HeRoMaRinE, just kind of predicting it. The Vikings over here are almost a zero loss, nothing but gain situation, because they can also hopefully respond to the attack on the left side fast enough, but they were kind of waffling around. Looks like they were going to go to the main base for a second. Now returning. Might be a little bit late. It's also choked up thanks to that refinery, and this is not going nearly as well as HeRoMaRinE is hoping for, or is it? Vikings now let loose. They didn't actually die all choked up like they were, but not able to kill the rest of Kelazhur's tanks. HeRoMaRiNE's 3 tanks were able to battle it out with the help of the SCV pull, and managed to live. Barely saves the sensor tower as well, which is actually really damn useful. I mean, HeRoMaRinE just lost 18 SCVs, but he's only behind by 2, so again, just crazy number of workers to begin with. And I was gonna say, rebuilding a sensor tower, that's a lot of money. Sometimes a lot of gas, too, and Terrans, they do need a lot of gas in this matchup. And it's a lot of time. Time which a guy like Kelazhur would be probably most keen on using to, again, go left, right, center, try to punch him every which way and hopefully catch him off guard. Sensor Tower helps stop that. So that's actually kind of an important save. But HeRoMaRinE, once again, seems like he's on the ropes, seems like Kelazhur is doing something fantastic, and then it's just, you look at the actual situation, and you're like, oh, no, Kelazhur just kind of brought things back to even. All right, then. Hell, HeRoMaRinE even coming ahead in upgrades, at least for the next 45 seconds. Even up afterwards. A faster 4th command center, faster 2nd factory. Even worker count, very close to even on the army counts. Except that Kelazhur is now the one on the defense. Again, he's got an upgrade deficit right now. He's behind +1 armor. Is that going to matter enough? Anti-armor missile would absolutely make up for the upgrade deficits, but all of Kelazhur's Marines are mostly dead. Now the reinforcements are coming in, but the tanks might be broken. No, actually, oh, they're okay. If HeRoMaRinE had 2 or 3 tanks in this position, then that would have been very scary, but no, that's not the case here. So HeRoMaRinE pushes forward, doesn't get really all that much, and retreats. Again, coming out very even overall. 4th command center might be faster for HeRoMaRinE, but it's not location. Kelazhur actually might totally even things up completely and entirely in just 10 seconds. 1-1 is done. 4th command center's on location. You certainly couldn't ask for a more even game after one player lost 18 SCVs. That's the weirdest thing about it. Oh, trying to save those Marines. I guess it was worth it. Kelazhur was ahead in the upgrades at that point, but I don't think he was really planning on sticking around too much longer. Yep, both of them on the 4th, turning into planetaries. HeRoMaRinE has got a huge head start on +2 attack. The armor was a little bit delayed, and I kind of gave Kelazhur the credit to start +2 attack immediately. That I thought it'd still be a relatively even upgrade game, but it's definitely not now. HeRoMaRinE, if he starts his +2 armor, will just simply be ahead. But he also might be missing that. He's got the minerals, got the gas, doesn't have the tension by the looks of things. Oh, there we go. Just as I began to doubt him. He showed me what's what. So yeah, he just has a huge upgrade lead. Attack still being very important. I mean, it's still TvT. Tank positioning, Raven usage, still the most important. And actually, this looks like a real moment for Kelazhur. Let's see if that turns around on him yet again, as it seems to every other time in this TvT. And HeRoMaRinE was defending his third, defending his fourth, wasn't really defending the center of the two. Was hoping to track Kelazhur a little bit faster, a little bit better. And was actually quite late to it. Kelazhur's tank reposition is pretty much good enough. I mean, I could see how HeRoMaRinE thought he might be able to grab a couple of tanks, but not gonna happen. And now HeRoMaRinE's tanks, while high in numbers, are too spread out. Kelazhur finally finding his moment to really shine. And it all came down to that positioning. Upgrades be damned. The last second, HeRoMaRinE apparently was on a higher upgrade lead, but the Marines weren't really the problem. HeRoMaRinE now down 50 workers, down a base. It's only the upgrade he has going for him. Kelazhur will be tying this series up. I think HeRoMaRinE's just frustrated. He was playing a pretty good game. And he probably knew that that was a weak point in his defenses. That's the most frustrating thing about StarCraft, is knowing something's on the way and then not having enough to defend, or just looking away for the exact right moments. You know, that's the most frustrating shit. Oh, he's going for Dark Templar. This will be easy to defend. What? My missile turret didn't cover my SCV line by 2 hexes? Shit. Like, it just feels bad, man. That might be why HeRoMaRinE's ticking in a little bit longer than I think he usually would. If this was a 30 supply deficit, 100% HeRoMaRinE's still on it. If it was a 50 supply deficit, he's still got potential. It's TvT, you know? But at a 70 supply deficit, I think HeRoMaRinE's just screwed. Even his Liberator is unable to get any of these shots off. They just died. Before anything had happened, and yeah, I think HeRoMaRinE's just frustrated. Kelazhur, he's fast, he's wicked. He'll pull the trigger when many other people are still determining if it's, you know, a criminal or pedestrian. Much like Jay in Men in Black. Why did you shoot her? It's just really odd that she was out and about in the middle of the night with textbooks. I got nothing more to say here. It's TvT. In the last seconds, it was over. It was very over. GG finally called. All tied up on inside and outs. Bottom left, HeRoMaRinE. Top right, Kelazhur. It's not the first time these guys have been tied up against each other, even though I do give HeRoMaRinE more credit to winning this TvT. It's not like it's impossible for Kelazhur to win. There's been times where Kelazhur only ever gets a few promising moments in the games, but then ultimately loses, maybe even one-sided, in a 2-0. But there's also been many moments where Kelazhur gets multiple moments in multiple games, and loses 2-1. You know, it still comes down to Kelazhur losing a lot of the time, but it's a difference of one more moment actually working enough. One more moment going just a little bit further in the SCV kills, a little bit farther into the production lines, something along those lines. And then Kelazhur would absolutely take some of these series, even 2-0 actually. He's won the first game a couple times. But not this time. What? Sorry. Potentially not this time, sorry. This time, it seemed like HeRoMaRinE wasn't even letting him get those moments. Every time he thought it was a moment, HeRoMaRinE was like, nah, I'm still okay. And losing 18 SCVs, only be down by 2 is like, what? Huh? How? What? Quite? Because I don't think the rest of the game before that was particularly one-sided. Because obviously that happens if Kelazhur is really far behind, but I didn't think it was that one-sided. Apparently it was. Anywho, let's see if Kelazhur, like last game, can get a couple of jabs in that HeRoMaRinE, yeah, might deflect, but then actually gets that gut punch right up the middle. Can also certainly happen on inside and outs. A little bit less so, actually, just because, yeah, there's the middle low grounds between the third and the fourth. The way between the fourth to the middle is a little more like a run around through a choke, right? Last map, he kind of was able to dart to the south through the middle in his own concave. So that's a big difference. Little Reaper shenanigans. HeRoMaRinE not gonna win this particular fight. If he could save the Reaper, that would be okay, and he will save the Reaper. But now his Reapers are in really weird positions, so... okay. Was hoping to catch the SCV before the Helene was out, or the Helene not paying attention, does not do so. And now HeRoMaRinE is gonna be down a unit. No matter how you slice it. He's got one Reaper, his opponent's got two. He's got a Hellion, his opponent's got a Hellion. But he has a defensive advantage, so... A little high ground usage, a little time buying with the command center. And the second Hellion will be out soon enough. And HeRoMaRinE is actually going to be quite aggressive after this. So he's losing the initial aggression, sure. But he's still building Reapers, he's still building Hellions. If Kelazhur gets a little overconfident at this stage, loses one too many units, it might not seem like a big deal. And then suddenly HeRoMaRinE has two more Reapers than his opponent, and that crowd control can really make up a big difference. We'll see. That's the what if. Kelazhur is already on his way to Marine production, which are less micro-intensive, but certainly sturdy. Both of them are getting medevacs, so that's going to be the fun part. Command center here for HeRoMaRinE is only just now finishing. That is quite a big delay. Kelazhur's orbital is done, guys. That's very big. So HeRoMaRinE no doubt knows he needs to do damage. That command center delay certainly adds up. He knows that. He's going to try and just go for the throat, right through the middle. It's not going to work out nearly as well as Kelazhur's attack in the middle did last game. Kelazhur had his units all relatively close together. Medevac out to heal up those Marines, which were... I mean, if everything shut at once from HeRoMaRinE, they do burst down Marines, but that's a trick. Everything shooting at once in perfect lineups doesn't happen too often, and Kelazhur's army is just sturdier at this point. It's got the Marines, it's got the tank. Medevac heals the Marines as well, right? And with a tank especially, I mean, that's gonna cover a lot of area. So Kelazhur feels confident enough to pick up his Marines. But this is where 3-4 Hellions dropped into a mineral line still are trouble. Not that much, actually. Tank's still positioned well enough that the SCVs can at least pull into it. Oh, I think Kelazhur, like control clicked on his SCVs and brought too many of them in, yeah. See, if your screen's like here, then you drag these SCVs too if you select all your SCVs. Anyways. He fixes that problem. Minor notes. I know we had two medevacs flying around. This is HeRoMaRinE. It's not going to do very much more, especially with only two Hellions. And one close to death. And this medevac from Kelazhur has a little bit more potential if it doesn't fly straight into a cyclone. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I will say if Kelazhur wins, I would consider that a pretty feisty upset. I think whoever wins the Lambo Hearthstone series, though, will be quite happy that they're not facing HeRoMaRinE. Not that they can't defeat him. Lambo actually did last week, right? Didn't you? It's just, you know, I think if you had to ask, who do you want to face, especially in an open cup? HeRoMaRinE or Kelazhur? I think a lot of people would say Kelazhur, actually. HeRoMaRinE is just that type of scary Terran player. Ooh. Ooh. Going for 2 starports. Did Kelazhur see that? He did. So that's pretty important. Seeing that second starport, you know that is a second starport. There is no confusion. Guy had a medevac on your side of the map. Came from the first medevac. This one is still building, hence second starport. Easy peasy on the math. What is not necessarily easy peasy is on the defense. If you let them get to enough tanks, enough Vikings, push across the map, you're the one in trouble. But Kelazhur is not defending, he is pushing. And this, I think, actually really disturbs HeRoMaRiNE's potential mid-game. So right now, it is now, okay, HeRoMaRiNE eventually gets enough Vikings, he controls the skies, he pushes back the tank line. He's not gonna die here. This isn't his moment of, like, super weakness. It just, it hiccups his potential plan of attack. Where at the very least, what Kelazhur could do is say, okay, you know what, I know I'm gonna be broken. That's fine, that's fair. I'm gonna retreat. And then on that retreat, he buys as much time as possible. Since he's gonna have Stim Marines, he can make sure that HeRoMaRiNE has to double check every movement forward. Are my Vikings going over Marines? Are my tanks going over Marines? But Kelazhur doesn't actually back away. He's gonna take the fight. Stim is done, helps out a little bit here, but there just might be too much for HeRoMaRiNE. Actually, that's Kelazhur's landed Vikings. Nope, not gonna be enough here. It is too much for HeRoMaRiNE. Kelazhur only gonna back away from this with a Raven, no energy, and a Medivac that is close to death. And that is not what Kelazhur was hoping for. Not at all. Backing away at the right moment would have been brilliant. But it was hard to tell exactly what was the right moment. When was HeRoMaRiNE going to pull that trigger? Was a question only HeRoMaRiNE could answer. I think if Kelazhur had pulled back and, as I was saying, just kind of used his mobility to constantly delay this, I think he would have been in a really good position, but he lost so much. Now the attack comes through pretty quick enough anyways. And I don't know if it's actually going to end the game. Here's the thing, is that HeRoMaRiNE's army is still very, it's again one of those armies that's less units, but very impactful units, especially if they're properly positioned. But because it is less units, what Kelazhur can hope to do is build up enough Marines, this time with combat shields. So when they stim, they don't get one shot from the tanks, and then he can collapse. But Kelazhur is starting to drop the ball a little bit. Bad rallies, late repair, almost. He's gonna try and pull the trigger now, but I think he needed another attack from the south, or the right side, rather. SCVs maybe could have been pulled into this to make sure this was a complete and utter success for the Red Terran. As it is, it's like a trade, with the SCV still being lost anyways, because 3 Marines are just gunning away here. It is nonetheless a hold. It is a hold. And one that gives Kelazhur a little bit of hope. But he's got to go Super Saiyan mode, man. HeRoMaRiNE, again, if they had gone the way that I had foresaw it. It's not a word. If I had gone the way that I saw it going, we'll never know what happens. It didn't go that way. But at the very least, if Kelazhur had nipped that in the bud immediately, because the earlier part went better, or maybe the SCV pull did do the trick and just really made it like an instant win there for Kelazhur, he might have his 20 army supply lead 30 seconds sooner and is now running to the other side of the map, taking advantage of the very sparse unit count of HeRoMaRiNE, because he's going mech. Even worse, he's going starport mech. So he's very low on the production. But it did go the way that it did. So he didn't have this army supply lead that instantly clapped back. Now it's trying to, and it might still work, actually. There's still not a lot here for HeRoMaRiNE. Alright, yeah. That's just how few units HeRoMaRiNE had. He had them in the 3rd starport, guys. And a 4th! Oh, shit. Didn't even notice that. I saw the 3rd one, didn't notice the 4th. So his production is so extremely low. Even on 4 bases, yes, he can produce from 4 starports, 2 factories, but it's still all slow production. That's mech for you. The Kelazhur really needs, as I said, to go Super Saiyan. By Super Saiyan, I mean power up, go really fast, really hard, and then also be quite, like, agile. Be very particular, specific about how he attacks. Not a kind of a kid trying to fight someone, right? Where they're just, like, running their arms around. Not like that. That's not going to do very well, even if you are a Super Saiyan. But like some Bruce Lee martial arts master hitting the right points at the right time, super quick, super fast, and I don't know if Kelazhur is doing it, guys. I think he's more like the toddler running his arms around. Oh my god, I can't believe he boosted into the missile turret line. Holy shit. Well, if the toddler does that and then hits you in the groin, I mean, I think that's pretty pretty impactful for everyone. So maybe that's what's going on here. Kelazhur, he's gonna do something, gosh darn it, and he did it. But now a battlecruiser and a tank that has not been pounced upon is going to take care of the main army. But that's like seriously all, like, where are the 4 tanks? 4 tanks is not a lot to protect 4 bases, guys. Kelazhur dips into the 3rd. An orbital and a planetary, right? Planetary, or battlecruiser doesn't teleport away fast enough. 2 tanks, it's maybe 2 shots. Actually, I think they clicked. Oh no, maybe that was Kelazhur's. It looked like the tanks were firing on the Marines, but it doesn't matter. The point is, another battlecruiser is gonna die. And HeRoMaRinE, I don't know, man. He either thought he had more of an advantage than he did, or he's playing around too much. Or, well, he thinks this is really the best follow-up possible, and I don't know if that's actually true. Any of the 3 listed here, and whatever you put it, I feel like HeRoMaRinE is losing control of this game. Kelazhur's 2-2 versus 0-0. If the battlecruisers had +3 armor, that'd be something different. I mean, they would have survived, so they would have been able to teleport away. But HeRoMaRinE, he's gonna die, man. I personally think he was playing around a little bit too much, and you know, he does still kind of experiment in some of these open cups, so that's fair. But I just don't think this is the way that you follow up the 2 starports. I could see how it could be a follow-up if you are ahead, but I think he had to be way more ahead than he actually was. Because I think he was ahead. I think he was ahead. I absolutely do. I think if you played a really tight, controlled, factory mech game, he could have been totally fine. He could have had more tanks covering the vulnerable 3rd orbital, and the planetary and a tank on the 4th would have covered against a lot of attacks that Kelazhur would have had, because he would have been Marine-based for so long. He would not have been adding in a lot of tanks. Back, if you think 5 minutes ago, no Marauders actually at any point in this game. He just goes completely Marine. And that would have held. But the problem was just that 3rd base really was the main problem. There were so few units defending it. And I guess, to an extent, also the natural. The main was, most people would consider this defended, to be fair. The missile turrets thought they were doing the trick. And that's, I could see how you would think that. But yeah, everything else was just so undefended. Because Kelazhur wasn't that far behind. He still had enough economy to build out of all of his production facilities. Anything less, and HeRoMaRinE might have been able to play around like this. Anything less, 3 barracks out of 5 barracks producing, no starport production, no factory, like anything like that, and maybe he can go into battlecruisers all willy-nilly. But this is... it's basically greedy. It's extreme greed. It's skipping all the major parts of TvT that you can get away with when you are playing on ladder against someone who's not as good as Kelazhur. Alright, that's exactly why mech is so annoying to deal with for us plebs, is because there are times where you just don't have a lot, but because other guys aren't very good, they're getting supply blocked, they only have 20 Marines instead of 40 Marines, it just doesn't matter as much. You're gonna get away with it, you're gonna get those tanks out, you're gonna get the battlecruisers out, and they're gonna rage. But against someone who is really good, and who does have enough of an economy to be that good, to give them the tools, they're gonna use those tools correctly. And I think that's just what Kelazhur did. And now he's going to go into Marine Thor, which deals with battlecruisers directly very well. It doesn't deal with them indirectly very well, though. And by that I mean if battlecruisers start running around, if they start teleporting left and right. But directly, oh yeah, they did fine against them. Not only did HeRoMaRinE play a little too loosey-goosey with the follow-up, again, overconfidence, experimentation, or misjudgment of the game, don't know which, maybe all of them combined together. Not only that, I also just don't think he has played around with the style very much. It's one of those things where HeRoMaRinE might be kind of laughing on his stream right now. I have no idea, you guys can tell me. But it would not be insane for me to say that Nathanius would have played a tighter follow-up mech game. It's like, it's not something you get to say very often, that a commentator would have played something out better, because it's usually not the case. But in that particular type of playstyle, I wonder if some mech particular content creators woulda, coulda, shoulda done better. Because I gotta tell you, some of the battlecruiser usage there was not HeRoMaRinE gold standard. I think if this was like a 50-minute